Hello and welcome everybody to the Global Crime Fighters episode 3. The title today is Going Underground. So I'm Dr. Katherine Horton, and in this third episode of the follow-on from the Techno Crime Fighters Forum, I would like to reveal all the stuff that has been building underground. So the schedule for today is that I would like to start with a couple of random news from around the world that are important. They're not random, but they are, a general bag mixed together. And then I really would like to get into the main topic today, which is all to do with things underground and also metaphorically hidden under the ground, as in covered up. So let me launch right into it. Now, the most pressing thing that I received a lot of emails about, oh, actually, by the way, let me just check if you can hear me fine. So anybody in the chat, can you please say yes if you can hear me all right? Because I need certainty, or maybe I can hear myself. Hang on. Let's see. You can hear me all right. Yeah, okay, so that's fine. Yeah, okay, so let me start. I'm always a bit nervous because I've been sabotaged before and I spent 10 minutes just sounding like a chipmunk, which is very amusing. But anyway, so what I would like to start with, and this is what I got a lot of questions about. People asked me, okay, when does the affidavit collection start in full? When are the explanatory notes going to be finished? The explanatory notes will be hopefully finished today, and I will post them. I have to write a couple of things because I decided to rewrite a few sections to show you what to look out for and what I already have, because you think I'm just making stuff up and there's really nothing. So this is what you should look for. Hang on, let me share my screen and show you the document as it is now. Just a moment. Okay, here it is. So the explanatory notes, what they are is an official document from the JIT. I have written it, but I'm publishing it under the Joint Investigation Team because it's also to benefit all the court cases to do with the JIT. Now, the explanatory notes for the affidavit survey look like this. They have the JIT header and so on. In the abstract, I briefly describe what this is about. In the table of contents, this is the overview for you, but I also draw attention to the main parts that you need. So the very first page is a quick guide. I called it the quick guide for the impatient, which is just in a few points explains everything you need to know about the survey, like how to fill it out. In the tick box section, you just place a capital X, not a little x, so that I can actually see it clearly. And even if it's printed off, it's very visible. But this is basically all you need to know. Then I explain the background to the survey and the purpose, the format, why it was a survey format, and so on and so on, the public versus the private sections. Blah, blah, blah. I've got, all the details. I've got some bits which are unwritten. So let me just skip through because it's 24 pages. How to use it. Are you allowed to use it for your own purposes? Which is, yes, you are, but under what conditions, and so on. And then this is the step-to-step filling out the survey, where I explain how to use the document authentication, what it's for, and so on, the oath, every aspect. And then I show you samples of how to fill it out. Okay, as you can see, the formatting is a bit messed up and I have to correct it. I also want to fill out, this is what's missing basically, the explanation of how to use the body diagrams, the perpetrators, and the dying declaration. I just need to stick in a few paragraphs. I explain how to convert it into PDF and so on. And then the most important thing, so acknowledgements, everything to do with the Joint Investigation Team, and so on. And then the last section is the FAQ. But I want to explain to you the purpose of this document. This document goes with the affidavit template and the entire, and actually, hang on, let me, maybe this is enough, you just have the overview. But the main purpose is that you have a document in your hand that you can keep for posterity, which should be a legally valid document that tells you who you gave your affidavit to, what they intended to do with it, what the entire purpose was, so that if anybody misuses it, right, you can show, hang on, this is what the affidavit was for, and this is now misuse, okay? So I want you to have the full certainty of, what I'm trying to do with your affidavit, And also because, as you know, we are all being sabotaged. My systems can be hacked, your systems could be hacked. So for this reason, should you spot your affidavit anywhere out on the internet being used in a way that you don't agree with, or maybe that has nothing to do with me because it got hacked, I want you to have the legal means to hunt these bastards down and take them to court, because your data should only be used in a way that you actually gave permission to. Okay, this is why this document is so long. Okay, so it should give you legal certainty, because I'm not going to misuse your data. I just want to achieve one purpose, which is bring these criminals to justice. I most certainly don't want to sell your data, and I don't want to use it for any other purpose. So my purpose is explicitly understanding the crimes, you know, to be able to write court testimonies, totally anonymous. Your data will not be published and not be used, you know, attributed to you. But I need to understand what's going on in the world. And I also want to, you know, use your affidavit for my own court case to support what I'm saying, because I'm trying to build a test case here that should benefit a lot of people in Europe and possibly worldwide. So these are my purposes. But should anybody out there use it for anything else, I want both you and I to have the means to actually say, no, this is not right, and you are legally liable for damages. Okay, so this is why what this document is for. It's to explain to you how to fill out the affidavit and to give you legal certainty. Okay, so this is why it's so lengthy, but most of the pages, the second half, is a very detailed FAQ, and the appendix here, appendix 1 in the FAQ, people who send me questions actually helped me write it. And here it's explained again with specific questions. At the end, there's a glossary so that we all agree on what we mean under gang stalking and use, so directed energy weapons and mind control and neurotech and remote neural monitoring and so on, okay? Because it's just a survey with very short sentences, no description, so we all need to agree on what we mean. And also it's going to be used worldwide. So this is my attempt. The glossary is by no means complete, okay? So as time progresses, I will update this and add other things should people run into problems, okay? But I didn't want to go for the overkill. I went for the first thing that's necessary. But then the most important thing in this entire document is the captain's cross-check, okay? Now, the captain's cross-check is a term that I've borrowed from aviation. And if you've been on a plane, you probably know that the stewardesses, you know, the air hostesses, they do a captain. So they check the cabin and then they kind of sign off briefly for the captain's cross-check. And this is before you take off with the plane. Every captain, every pilot has to go through the captain's cross-check. So it starts from the very basic, as in, are the two wings still attached and do they look okay? And I kid you not, people still walk around the plane on the outside and make sure it looks right, okay? And every pilot should do that. As silly as that may seem, you can spot egregious mistakes. And then, of course, there's the internal checks of all the systems and so on, right? And you do this before you take off to make sure that there are no problems mid-flight that you can't correct. Now, the reason why I included it here is because as soon as you submit your affidavit, the entire system gets rolling. And if I use any affidavits that have glaring mistakes, it will not come across as very confidence-inducing to the judges. So I need you to do a captain's cross-check. And it's just a sanity cross-check, you know, and the idea is that you first complete the affidavit template. Okay, and let me show you what, sorry, oh, hang on, let me bring up the, here. So to all people who are new, let me just explain what the hell I'm on about. If you go to the stop007.org website, my website, here is the affidavit form, okay? Now, the affidavit form down here, this is the quick view. You will find at the start of the affidavit already an author's cross-check. Okay, the author's cross-check, hang on, where the hell is it? Where is the cross-check? Here. Okay, this is the author's cross-check, and if I see it right, it's actually in the start of it's in the public section. And with this, you confirm to the public as the author of this affidavit that yes, you have cross-checked it. And it's kind of like a quick overview of, you know, what type of criminality you suffered, you know. And the idea is that when you filled out the survey, you go back to this page when you're finished, and then you quickly tick what applies to you. The first column is, are you affected, yes or no? And this is a quick thing, so that somebody who's looking for affidavits to say, you know, confirm what they are saying about business sabotage can quickly look at affidavits, go to this page and see, okay, this person too was affected by business sabotage or employment sabotage, so I can use the affidavit. So it's kind of like a quick overview. But if you've done it right, every section that applies to you should have 2 crosses. One, does it apply to you? Are you affected? And the second column is, yes, I as the author have checked it and the entries are correct. Okay? I do expect that you do this for me, because I need you to be this professional so that I can use your affidavit and other people can use your affidavit, the public anonymous part of the affidavit. Okay? Remember, the private sections will never ever be seen by anybody apart from myself and the members of the joint investigation team to check that this is an actual valid affidavit. Okay? So this section will not be used. And the bit that will be used is and also the private section will not be used. But everything that's public anonymous, it will be, the idea is we will put it up on a website, okay? Now, having said this, in the explanatory notes, it also explains that you should be really careful in the full text sections. There are a few full text sections in the public part of the affidavit, okay, here at the very end, right, where you mention quotes, you mention your conclusions, and you mention an appeal to judges, police, and government. Please be careful that you keep this general. So do not write anything that would identify you personally, okay? Leave that for the long form of the affidavit that you're going to write for the court cases. But you can still include quotes from, say, V2K, because most of the V2K says something like, we're going to kill you. Or if you go to the police and report us, we're going to kill you, or we're going to kill your pet. It is important that you write down quotes like that. But if the quotes are, you know, are something very personal, like let's say you've got a farm in Cheshire and they say we're going to kill your cows in Cheshire on your farm in this village, please don't write that down. Okay, keep that for your private affidavit or generalize it. All right. So. But anyway, my point is that all this is explained in the explanatory notes so that you have everything you need to know. And there are 2 cross-checks, 2 captain cross-checks. There's the author's cross-check here in the actual affidavit that will be published. And then there's the other thing, which is in this document, which is the captain's cross-check. And this also has the list of all the emails where you should send your affidavit, okay? Now, please wait. Before you send off your affidavit, do not send it today to these email addresses. Wait for the explanatory notes to be finished and for you to have read it, please. But just to explain, there are 4 email addresses, affidavits at Proton Mail, and then JIT affidavits, you know, and then 2 and 3 on Gmail. And there are 4 emails because all 4 go to the JIT and go to me, okay? But the entire point is that I try to have redundancy to guard against sabotage. And, you know, I've got 3 Gmail accounts because Gmail gives you the most free storage that you can have. And we know that the NSA is collecting everything anyway. So, you know, the CIA owns Google and, you know, they own Gmail. I know that, but fuck it, because, hey, you know, they're collecting every email we send over the internet anywhere in the world anyway. So it doesn't make a difference. So I'm just using the free storage here with Gmail, and I'm doing 3 accounts. Should one of the accounts be hacked or, you know, kind of locked or encrypted, the other 2. Now, the one from Proton Mail has the advantage that the account itself is encrypted. But when you send your affidavit, please send it to all. But because should you only send it to Proton Mail and somebody hacks it, Proton Mail is encrypted and not even IT can change the password and encrypt it for me. That's what they say. So this is just, you know, these Gmail resides in the US. and Proton Mail resides in Switzerland. And because I'm in Europe, and I frankly don't trust the US as it is right now, and I certainly don't trust Gmail, I also wanted to have a Swiss provider. And, you know, Proton Mail was developed at CERN. You might think CERN is just as evil as Gmail and the CIA. It might be, but nevertheless, it resides on servers in Europe. Okay, so, you know, so far I've used Proton Mail and they haven't been evil. So let's just run with it. You know, we have to do something. Okay, so this is the explanatory notes. As you can see, 24 pages of it have been written. Wait for it to be published. It will be published, just to show you, let me go back. It will be published here, okay? Yes, it's still Thursday for a few more hours, so I'm really trying to hurry up. And it will also be published on the Joint Investigation Team website, which is jointinvestigation.org, okay? You can find the same information here about, here under appeals, okay? And appeal for victim affidavits here. You'll find the same documents exactly here as well, okay? Now, another thing that I will publish as soon as possible is what I call the long form of the affidavits, which is an affidavit format that allows you to write full text for your personal court case with all the details. And the way it's structured is that it has exactly the same section headings. And I'm really hurrying up and I'm trying to publish it so that when you're filling out this affidavit template, you will think of stuff. And as soon as you think of it, you can already start writing it down in the long form, okay? Now, the entire point of the long form of the affidavit template, it is just a simple Word document with these headings, but it also has numbered paragraphs, which is what you need for court, okay? So I provide this other template as well for you, but you don't have to submit it to me. You can if you want to, but you don't need to. It's not mission critical, okay? But it's really important for you so that when you get your court case and you get your damages, you can, you know, say to a judge exactly what has happened. And it kind of assists you if you use the same format here, because then your long affidavit can benefit from all the many other affidavits that are downloadable online, and that, you know, you can also use for your own court case. This is the entire point of what we're doing. Okay, so much about, you know, the affidavit templates. What else? I'm just looking at the notes because I've got a long list of what I want to talk about. Yes, now the other thing is that there's a chip scanning coming up in autumn in Belgium. And to clarify, this is for all the members of Melanie Richard's ICATOR. ICATOR is a human rights charity that is specializing in assisting victims of illegal implanting and so on. And I just would like to show you the website. Hang on, let me share my screen again, go back. Her website is icator.be because it's in Belgium and looks like this, okay? Now, I know that there are victims worldwide, okay? And why is it only for ICATOR members? And it's because when we approached the Belgian university for scanning, we had to show that we are, you know, not just a random huddle of people, we are an actual human rights charity. I am a member of the Melanie's Human Rights Charity, and to become a member, what you do is, here's the information about, you know, under Join Us. You know, it costs 160 euros per year, and all the money goes into supporting Melanie and her work and supporting the setting up of the scanning, as well as the work that Melanie does with the European Union, because she lives in Brussels and she's regularly going to the European Parliament, and she is trying to get through to parliamentarians. She has done this for a very long time. She herself has years of experience working with the EU Commission and the EU Parliament, and she also worked with Dr. Ronnie Kilde, the you know, the late, or shall we say murdered, former Chief Medical Officer of Finland. Dr. Ronnie Kilde is famous, and she really worked closely with Melanie, and they were trying to stop this madness already for years, okay? So Melanie is a trustworthy person. This is a trustworthy human rights charity that's registered in Belgium, that I'm also a member of and that I support. And it is for this reason that the scanning is first and foremost for the members, okay? But Of course, if you don't want to become a member or you cannot become a member, by the way, you can become a member even if you're not in Belgium or even if you're not in Europe, and many people do. What the membership does is it supports other victims who are supported by this human rights charity, and it also supports, of course, the funding of setting up one collaboration with a university in Europe to have a regular place to go to find these body implants, to find the body area networks. But it also reserves the right for you to take part in scanning. And our goal is to set up not just one scanning event, but several. And we already had 2 scanning events in 2017. And what they showed is that, yes, we did see frequency emissions from the bodies, but the equipment that the university had at the time was actually devised to measure electrosmog and measure, technical machines, but not medical implants. So we had to teach pretty much, the professor that the stuff exists, and we are now fine-tuning the scanning. So what's happening is before the member scanning in autumn, we already raised the funds so that Melanie and I can spend a day at the university working with the professor, and that's coming up, And I'm announcing this because every single time we do stuff like that, the intelligence agencies try to sabotage. And sabotage includes trying to run me off the motorway when I'm driving at 130 kilometers per hour on my way to Belgium. Okay, so should I die, you can know what it might be related to, okay, and really get these bastards. And I should also say it doesn't make a difference if you announce it publicly or you do not ahead of time, because they know what you're doing anyway, so they will sabotage you anyway. But if you make it public, everybody around the world knows what the hell's going on, okay, and kind of can watch out for us as best as possible while we're trying to do this work. So this is coming up, and yes, it has been confirmed. The first day is Melanie and I working with the university to really hone down and pin down the entire measurement process. It's very technical work, and I'm assisting it as a physicist. And that's why we don't have any victims at that event, because it will be all the nitty-gritty and not just scanning. And we are using Melanie and me. We both have body implants that are emitting radio frequencies, and we're kind of like a calibration candle, which is why we're going there, Okay, so this is coming up. What else is going on? Oh yes, now let's go to, so this was now, news from Belgium and news about the general affidavit template. And then let me just quickly slide in some quick news that you maybe find interesting, because you're in a similar situation here from Switzerland, from myself. The situation is such that, as you know, I've done the Neighbourhood campaign. And for all those people who are new to this entire thing, you can find the Neighbourhood campaign on my website. If you go to Stop 007. And sorry, I know that the people who are watching this for a long time, they're like, not again, not the Neighbourhood campaign again. But I'll explain to you why I repeat myself all the time. I'll explain to you in a minute, and then you will understand. So if you go to my website here, Stop 007, you scroll down, and you can find it if you also go to how you can help. Okay, so today let's go via here, how you can help. This is a list of things that you can do. And then here under join our campaigns, you can see all the campaigns, past campaigns and current ones. And this is the Inform the Neighbors and the Flyers campaign. Now here you can also download flyers that you can distribute in your neighborhood, and you can download these template letters in German and English. And here's the explanatory video. And you can find out how you too can inform your neighborhood like I did. All the homes that are marked here with a little dot, I have spread the neighborhood campaign letter to all of them. So now, as you know, I have done this neighborhood campaign, and my current situation is that the neighbors have been informed. The police confirmed to me that they are being called by neighbors all the time now, which is a really good thing, actually. Because the police has refused since January 2016, 2.5 years ago, to stop the microwave machine gunning of my person inside the home. And I'm being microwaved now. My arm is being microwaved as I sit here in my dining room, by the way, I noticed that you can see the reflections of my neighbors. It must be really annoying. So I try to look down so that you don't have this in front of my eyes. But as I'm sitting here, I'm being shot at from north. And I can feel it because the shots are hitting this side of my body, not this side of my body. I'm just looking straight east right now as I'm sitting at my dining room table. So, you know, I'm pretty sure in the direction where the shots are coming from, but I'm not so certain about the precise angle. So what I did is I published my letters to the neighbors, and I informed all my neighbors generally. And then I wrote a second letter, which you can find on the Neighbourhood campaign. Oh, sorry, no, you can find it under correspondence on my website. And I've listed all the neighbors who live to the north. I do not accuse any one of the neighbors particularly at all, but I know it's coming from the north, okay? So one of them has to be guilty and has to, you know, have received money from the secret services to place a microwave emitter there, because this is a professional machine that's hitting me. But I'm not saying which one it is. But what I do say publicly is all the odd stuff that has been happening around me, right? Because just down there to the southeast, there's already a black satanic goat that just appeared after the, you know, first assassination attempt on me. And I was very traumatic. And the next day there's a black, you know, life-size plastic goat. That plastic goat disappeared when I went around and wrote down all the names from the neighbors who I had to write to personally. And then it wasn't there for months. And suddenly it reappeared when I actually, you know, I did the Neighbourhood campaign. And it's almost like a threat. Now, if you don't know, I didn't know about satanic symbolism earlier. But when you know about this, you realize the black goat is a satanic symbol. It's kind of a death threat, you know. So I was like, hang on, there's so many coincidences. And I'm being shot from that direction too. So I said, okay, that neighbor's probably somehow involved. Maybe, you know, she just was asked to place the goat and she doesn't know what it's about. But sure as hell, somebody contacted her. Now, to the north, I also published the fact that I've got a car, right, and it's dark blue, and suddenly a car wreck appeared at my next door neighbor. And I photographed the view from my kitchen window where you could see this car wreck pretty prominently, okay? Now, so that everybody knows what I'm talking about when I say these things. Hi, I'm back. I seem to have been thrown out. I'm not sure when the hell I was thrown out. Let me just check the chat. This is interesting. Okay, sorry. I think there's some real issues here with my computer. I don't know. I don't know at what point I was actually dropped out, and I'm trying to bring up the. Okay, I can see that I'm back again. Hey, all right. I have no idea at what point it stopped broadcasting. Anyway, I was just saying about all the neighbors and what's odd in my neighborhood. Okay, and I want to get onto the story, so I'm just saying a quick reminder. And I wanted to share my screen to show you the view from my kitchen window. Where is it? Here. So this is the view from my kitchen window, and I'm totally allowed to. You can see the frame, and I'm totally allowed to actually photograph the view from my window. But one of the things I also drew your attention to is the fact that here you can see the big car wreck, that thing. And it's exactly in the same color as my car. And not just that, you can see a pentagram, which I thought, oh my God, that's a bit odd. Okay. So I watched this car wreck for a very long time. And then one day this thing appeared, which looks like a funky satellite thing. Okay. Here. It's pointing at my house. Now, this to me looks like a ladder, and it turns out to be a kitchen, like a metal sink, you know, like a sink you might have in the cellar or something. And then this pole was put up and bike lights were placed here and here. So the first thing I saw was late in the evening, 2 red flashing lights. So when you see this, right, and your neighbor used to have, I think, this car, and now he has a new, brand new car in white, and he puts this there, and he has already received your neighborhood letter, and then he places that thing, which looks like, you know, an antenna system, a mock antenna system pointing at your house. Well, if you're a victim and you're being machine gunned from that direction, you're going to make it public. And I encourage everybody to make shit like that public. So what happened, okay, is that I've published this, and I also published all the names, and every single time I was being shot at, I said, I'm being shot at from the north, from the direction, you know, from the direction of these neighbors. And I know at least one person is a perpetrator. The other people are victims, because radiation, 50% of the radiation is reflecting off the wall. If you hit at the wall at an angle, it's reflecting at an angle. So a neighbor over there is going to hit a neighbor over there. You know, and these idiots who are operating these machines don't understand. They're giving not just me cancer, they're giving their neighbors cancer. And around the home, there are not just little children. There's a nursery at the end of the street. So, you know, it's pretty serious what's going on here. So this is what happened on Tuesday, right? So on Tuesday, I went outside because I had to flee my home. What I also did is I went outside, and I'm so fed up by now that I thought, right, I'm going to plaster what's going on onto the back of the car. Of my car, and as I'm driving around, people, you know, should understand what's going on. So I'm there, and I'm just plastering these little leaflets into my back window, and then I get a phone call from a victim whom I talked to previously, and it was heartbreaking because she reported about exactly all the stuff that I know about. She says, my God, it's getting much worse. I've got the impression I'm being poisoned. There seems to be poison gases coming through. I don't know where. And I said, well, you know, it could be I know that the water, the faucets, so the water taps are being used to pump gas. I know that the kitchen sinks and bathroom sinks are being used. The sewage system is being used to pump gases, noxious gases back up. You know, ventilation shafts are being used to pump gases. So we had a discussion about that. But of course, she's terrified, right? A real case victim. She reports about everything, you know, the vibration that her body is put under, which could be DUs, it could be implants. I explain all this stuff. It's really heartbreaking stuff. So that's my day-to-day, guys. You know, I get these emails, I get phone calls, I talk on Skype to people, and I'm trying to assist them. And the stuff I get is really horrific, as you know, as a victim, right? So as I'm on the phone outside, I've just gone outside, you know, the entire thing unfolded as follows. I go outside, and I notice that as soon as I go outside, my neighbor downstairs gets a phone call. You know, odd coincidences that you kind of pick up on. And this is the neighbor who had this screaming fit at me. If you go to online on YouTube and you look at Terror by the Neighbors, Stop 007, those are my neighbors from downstairs, Mr. and Mrs. Speetsy, you know, barking at me, screaming at me, because it turns out their radiator's knocking, and they're blaming me for their knocking radiator. I should say it's a detached, separate central heating system I've got no power over, but anyway, okay. And in the process, they're also insulting my colleague in Belgium, Melanie Richan, calling her all sorts of names, calling me all sorts of names. So, okay, these people downstairs are pretty much involved. It was a time thing. And I also know that as soon as I leave the house, they very often get phone calls, and I can hear the telephone. So I go outside, my neighbor downstairs, Mr. Speetsy, is sitting outside and gets a phone call moments after I go out to the car. So I'm of course assuming in my head, okay, the entire surveillance system got going again because, woo, here I am leaving my house. So I didn't leave with the car as I first intended, but I got this phone call. So as I'm standing having this phone call, moments after going out, suddenly I can see that a police car, the local police, drives by, and it's a very narrow street. So this big red and white car just goes, woof, you know, rolling past the police, the police, which refused to do anything for 2.5 years. I'm glad they're doing the patrols, right? Because when you have invisible directed and energy machine gunning going across the street, it really helps if the police just cruises by, totally oblivious. But okay, they're doing this thing. But I thought, what coincidence that the police would do a pass-by. And I wouldn't have thought anything odd years ago, but I know from other victims that this police cruising by timed is kind of like, you know, part of stalking because the police is involved. But also moments before the police drove by, the neighbor opposite, the one with the car wreck, opened his garden fence. He's got a door coming down to this street, opened his garden fence, but didn't come out. And there's this hedge, as you can see. So he opens the garden fence and doesn't come out, and he's standing behind the hedge. And then the police car goes by. And I'm thinking, how much coincidence can one have in one day so quickly? And of course, the hypothesis in my head is, okay, the neighbor downstairs got called. They know I'm outside. The neighbor out downstairs is watching me messing around with my car, putting up these notes in the back of my car. And then they call the local police, which is just 5 houses down. They do the police prowling, you know, pass by. And the neighbor from opposite also comes on at the same time. Okay. And I thought that's kind of some sort of harassment signaling. So as I was on the phone, I thought, right, I'm just gonna, you know, focus on this case. As soon as I put the phone down, which kind of implies that, you know, my next door neighbor must have known when I finished the phone call, the neighbor, Egli or Annie, I don't know which one is which, you know, he or his partner, I don't know, doesn't matter, comes out and he says, oh, hello, I wanted to talk to you about something. It's about you publishing my name and taking photographs of my private area and putting them up on Twitter. And I was like, okay, let's talk about that. And he said, you know, I really don't appreciate that you publish my name online. And I said, well, you probably know the back history of this. And whilst we're at it, can you please explain what this car wreck is about? Because it's exactly the color of my car. And as you know, I'm, you know, almost weekly nearly assassinated on the motorway. So personally, I take it to be almost like a death threat. You putting that there, and every time I go into my kitchen, it's right in my face. A car wreck. Who the hell has got a car wreck in their front? So he says, oh, the car wreck, that was because he had a stag night. And they spent the stag night in a quarry, folding cars together. And the present from the stag night was his folded car. I'm like, that's interesting. Then I said, okay, fair enough. You know, everybody to their own. But what's it with the satellite dish, the mock satellite dish? And he says, oh, that I'm really sorry. That was really, really stupid. That was really stupid. It wasn't a moment of not thinking, and he called it the ein momenta geistigen Umnachtung, so a moment of you know, mental absence. Yeah, I bet. And I say to him, well, you do know that this is really serious, what I'm doing here. So I explained, I'm sorry, you are mocking me with that stuff, and I'm trying to save lives. I am dealing every day with people who are being murdered by the secret services. I'm dealing with, you know, autistic children and autistic adults being experimented on. I'm dealing with people being maliciously implanted and their body being trafficked for research, and they being tortured and shredded to death. Do you think this is, and I've told you because you got my full, and you can see what he received. It's the Neighbourhood campaign, and he received it back in April. So why the hell do I have this satellite dish mocking me in August? You had months to look up to see what I do. And he said, well, you know, his friends told him that he's being mentioned online. And I think, yeah, thank the F. His friends are at least watching what I'm putting out. You know, and his friends apparently also watch my videos because they sent him minute marks of where he's being mentioned. But I said, excuse me, but you do realize that when I'm being, you know, I, as a foreigner, as a Hungarian with German nationality in Switzerland, I'm a foreigner. I feel like I'm being surrounded by Swiss, open brackets, Nazis, although I didn't say it in the moment, by Swiss people who are finishing me off. And there you are mocking this. What shall I do? You received the Neighbourhood campaign and then you mocked me. Of course I'm going to publish it and it's my bloody right. And then he said, well, I threatened court action against him and that's why he went to the police and he asked them what to do. And the police, and this is really interesting, the police advised him, well, he should make a police report against me for the following things. For photographing his private grounds. Well, I'm sorry, I'm just photographing the view from my private quarters through the window. And then also for spreading Angst und Schrecken. So in German, this is a fear and I don't know what, fear and disconcertment. Excuse me, I am spreading fear and disconcertment. I am being machine gunned with modern weaponry, right? The market capitalization is about, for which the market capitalization is about 43 billion soon. This is pretty new kick-ass weaponry in a boom market. And I am spreading fear when I send to my neighbors, I say, this is going on, you're being hit too. And what I said to my neighbors, and I think this is what really bothers the authorities, I said, if you develop cancer in a home around mine, you have a big fat liability claim against the Swiss state. And here it is in writing with my name. So imagine, you've got the Swiss people, and the Swiss people, they are totally oblivious to them being machine gunned and actually being, getting all sorts of health effects from the non-stop machine gunning and it bouncing off my walls and scattering into all four winds. And then one day they get a note and they read, these weapons are being used. By the way, every Swiss man is a member of the military, I think until his late 40s. So every Swiss is a trained soldier by law. Because these weapons were developed in the 50s and 60s, I expect half the Swiss population, the male one, to already know about directed energy weapons. So they shouldn't soil their little panties when they hear about directed energy weapons, okay? So I say to my neighbors, look, these weapons, half of you know about, are being used in this area. Should you get ill, you can get a lot of money from your government. And this is the point where all the Swiss go, oh no, I'm so stressed. I'm in fear. I live in fear that I can get, if I should get sick, can get millions off my government. Really? Really? Are the Swiss that fucking stupid? Because I don't think so. So I'm sitting there listening to my neighbor explain this. And I also noticed that he shows no mercy when he's mocking me with that satellite dish. By the way, that satellite dish is not the only satellite device I saw in his garden. Funnily enough, at the start of August, right, on the 10th of August, the car wreck disappeared. Okay. But then a couple of days later, when I had two visitors, funnily enough, we come back home one day and my friend said to me, oh, look what your neighbors put up. And they used the drying line for clothes and they put aluminium all around, which funnily enough made it look like a big surveillance satellite, and kind of pointing up this time, not pointing at me. And my neighbor said, is there something wrong with your neighbors? And I said, it's the Swiss. I don't know, but I do love the Swiss, which is why I'm wearing the Swiss colors, by coincidence today. But it's my friend saying what the F is going on here. So imagine, I hear this, that he made a police report against me and the charges is I photographed his private ground. And second of all, that I am spreading fear. And I said to him, I'm really sorry, but I am entitled to photograph public ground. Because if you're, for example, walking around the Swiss Alps and you just photograph a mountain, invariably somebody's house and garden will be in the picture. And you're allowed to put that up on Instagram and Twitter, aren't you? So that solves that. Okay. Second of all, the naming, yes, I am naming when it's about my own personal safety and I need to let the public know who might have murdered me. Okay. And then thirdly, about you making a police report against me, let me tell you, I do not intimidate. And you can check that I do not intimidate, because very soon I'm going to publish the details how the military police of Switzerland shot me in the head on the Serpentines coming down from Davos, trying to kill me. And then after that, I still went straight to the military HQ and actually incriminated one of their senior NDB agents. And I'm going to publish that very soon too, when I have, finally cross-checked the transcript. So I do not intimidate, guys. And finally, to, settle this matter, he said, oh, yes, but you have to wait, you should watch out for being contacted by the police. And I just looked at him and I said, the local Untitled police or Kantonspolizei Zurich? Well, let me tell you, I've contacted them regularly since January 2016. I should have a folder this big, including several police reports about break-ins, which they refused to do anything about. I had about at least a dozen, if not more, break-ins, right? About having dead animals placed in my attic as a death threat, right? About having measuring devices stolen, which then reappeared, when I complained about it. Oh dear, have I gone? Okay, I'm back again. It's interesting because my screen goes black regularly. So I think the intelligence agencies are listening, and they are, they are really going nuts at the moment. But I said about the police report, I am waiting for Mr. Wendelin Koch to come here, or Mr. Schoch from Unterengstringen Police, or anybody from Cantons Police, and do something. I have been waiting for 2.5 years. And frankly, and this is how you should go about as well, you should file police reports first and then wait there, literally like a tiger or tigress, ready to pounce if the police comes with some bullcrap. Because I am just waiting for Mr. Wendelin Koch or Mr. Schoch to make the mistake of daring to come with bullshit like that when they have ignored my police reports. That I am just waiting to be able to put that into my court bundle, because then it would prove my point. I am trying to prove that the police services in Canton Zurich are working for organized crime, okay? I'm trying to prove that they are highly corrupt and that they're discriminating against me as a victim, and that they smeared me with mental health bullshit, blah, blah, over and over, even when I gave them evidence, which were statements by former MI6 agents. So that's what I'm trying to prove. If the police is stupid enough to even come within my perimeter with some bullshit, I have the evidence, because I'll say in court, oh, hang on, you did nothing about break-ins, about car sabotage, about death threats, about assassination attempts, about directed energy weapon machine gunning for 2.5 years, and now you come with that I am spreading fear in Switzerland when I inform my neighbors that they've got liability claims against you bastards? Oh, please, I am waiting for the police to make that mistake. Please, I am just waiting. I'm waiting for the next step of bullshit to come from these people, because then the trap will go, That's it, my dears. So this is so much about this neighbor. And I was very nice, and I explained that I'm not accusing him personally, although he's the biggest, most suspicious guy, because, hey, how many Swiss people have the money to have a stag night and fold their car, crumple them up? I don't think very many. Yet this guy had the money to do that and then got a brand new car in white, which just happens to be the color, the UN color that, my former colleagues observed are spreading like a wildfire throughout the US as well. And the only thing you need to do is stick the UN logo on, and you've got your UN, global New World Order vehicles. So just look at how many white cars you can see out and about, please. And maybe have a look at the drivers. Do the drivers look like young men, so young that you can't believe that they can afford a white BMW or white Mercedes? Just check it out, So my neighbor has a white car, has enough money to crumple up his old, has enough money to have the crane service, or his friends have, and also he seems to be working in a very tightly knit, huge group of Swiss people who, when they brought the present, were all dressed in red, in Swiss red, with red tops, all of them. So I've got the evidence of that as well, okay? And not just that, he also parked for ages a red and white Swiss-colored pickup truck that was never used in front of my drive. So he can afford a pickup truck. Now, he never used that. Pretty big thing. I actually thought it was quite cute. I loved that car. And then when I started talking about the red and white pickup truck, he got rid of it. And then now there is a lorry, an actual pickup lorry, most of the time outside my window, a yellow lorry. So you think, as a victim, And then he just happens to be the guy who is, taking part in where I've got all these coincidences, downstairs neighbor who's clearly a perp, getting a phone call, police cruise by, just the moment he wants to come out. What am I to think, guys? What the hell am I to think? And how come out of this row of neighbors who I mention all the time, he's the only one to approach me having such a big issue? Does somebody protest too much here, perhaps? But this is my what happened. And the reason why it's super important for you, okay, I'm not just telling you my private circumstances to, fill the day. I'm giving you the hints of what the hell to do. Number one, stand your ground. Number two, do not intimidate. The police is there to protect you, to serve you. You're not there for them to be intimidated. They are public servants. I, as a victim, need to be served by them, and they refused, which is discrimination. Number two, do exactly what I did. Look around your neighbors and spot everything that's odd. Just record it. Just mention it. You're perfectly entitled to photograph public ground. In fact, you're allowed to photograph everything outdoors, out and about. You're not allowed to photograph into private homes. Okay, you're not allowed to photograph people sunbathing topless in their front garden. Okay, and you're not allowed to photograph up people's skirts or down women's décolletés or photograph children a bit too much. Okay, those things you're not allowed, but you're perfectly entitled to photograph everything else for your own purposes, which could also be a purpose of, public information and self-defense. And the other thing is file with the police so that you've got something to really smear in their face when they come with their own shit, because that's what I intend to do. And at the moment, I'm just waiting here like a spider. I'm like, come on, Canton's Police Zurich. After you put the all-seeing eye adverts everywhere, which I published, I'm just waiting for you to fuck up one more time, because I'm collecting evidence for my court case. That's why, So this is how to deal with this. And every single time they come with bullshit, don't intimidate. Just go like, yeah, here, come, bring it on, because I'm prepared, So anyway, but to all the Swiss neighbors who are maybe bothered, I would like to say I do not ever accuse anybody personally, because I can't. I don't know where the shots are coming from. I can tell shots from north, from east, from south and west when they hit me, because it literally goes like bam, both, You feel the impulse, but I can't tell, did it come from this angle? Did it come from that angle? So I can just say which quadrant or, which hemisphere it came from. And with time, I realized that there are at least 4 electromagnetic machine guns placed around my home, one south. And then I just had to go and see what odd things are in those directions, which neighbors behaved odd. You should do the very same, okay? So much about my personal situation. But one of the things I would like to say, and this also ties in with this little story, is that I now have decorated my car, and I want to show you what it looks like. I hope this thing doesn't crash when I share my screen again. I'm sorry. Let's see. Can I show you this? So my car looks like this now. Okay, and it says, sorry, this is in German because I'm in German-speaking Switzerland, but it says 950 days torture and mutilation. Oops, I realized I've just misspelled Verstümmelung. There is no E here, but happens. And I say Secret Service terror in Switzerland, microwave weapons, torture implants, rape, and human trafficking. And then I point to YouTube, the Global Crime Fighters, which you're watching now. I'm pointing to the German version of the Global Crime Fighters, and I'm pointing to my website. And I have to say, I really encourage everybody who's got just a bit of courage to do that, because you don't have to be ashamed of anything. You haven't done anything wrong in the world, okay? So just put it out there. And the funny thing is, as soon as I started driving around with this stuff in the bag, sometimes I look up and I'm looking through the black view mirror and I can see drivers going like this, you know, leaning forward and like, what does it say? Oh my God, because as soon as you say the word rape, torture, you know, people are like, what? And it's a great advert for my website. And I know from the from the Frederic Laroche case, that the police really started descending down on him when he had the prince advertising his website on his car. And because I'm just waiting for the police to cock up, you know, I just put it there and I'm just waiting for them to get aggressive. I'm like, come on, bring it on, screw up. So I'm like, you know, teasing them a bit more. That's one motivation. The second motivation is that as a systems analyst, I also know that if you're driving your car randomly, the people who stop behind you, if they're not exactly your gang stalkers, you know, or if you park your car somewhere, the people walking past and seeing this thing on your car are random. So what you're doing is, as you're driving around with this car, you're seeding random little leads for people, and people are really curious. If there's one thing that's true about humans, is that they are really curious and they love gossip. So if you park your car, they'll think, okay, let's just take my phone, go stop007.org. Oh my God, you know? So this is the idea. And in terms of systems analysis, what you're doing is, it's called seeding. You know, I will explain much more about the system analytical and the physical process of a phase transition, which is what we're now. But in a phase transition, you have little seeds, and then you've got islands where, for example, the polarization of a magnetic system changes, and it kind of spreads out from these little seeded islands. So as people go past and see the website and look it up and maybe start following on YouTube, they start learning, and then they will tell their friends and they will tell their partners, you know, maybe it's negative publicity. Maybe they say, what the F is this? Look at this, honey. Have you ever seen anything that fucked up? I haven't. That's okay. Negative publicity is also publicity, right? They only need to hear about it. So this is what I did for the public service. If you see that car, it's me, okay? And you could also see on my car, it's that dark blue. It's exactly the same color as the car wreck. And what you could also see in the image is a little camera at the back. And this goes back to, this leads me on to the next thing I want to say, right? Which is that I've published an equipment list. This is something for you to, that you can use. Let me just take you there. Okay, let's see, where's it? Okay, let's go back to my website, okay, and I'll show you how to get there. It's a new section that I have published just this week, and I'm really pleased because I sat on this thing for ages, tinkering, and I finally got it out. So here, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a victim of the intelligence agencies or if you're an investigator, here, this link, Equipment and Detection, should provide you maybe some, you know, be of some service or provide you with some ideas. The equipment list contains all the gadgets, all the shielding material, the security devices, and the measurement devices that I am using. There are 2 devices, a frequency counter and a gas detector, that I'm still looking for, but all the other things, I explain the things that you need to fight back. Logbooks in handwriting, audio recorders, and I'm also providing a list of where you can get these things, you know, in US dollars, in British pounds, and in euros. You can go straight through the vendor, and in some places you don't, you know, have to buy from that vendor, but if you need to, you know where to get it. You also don't need to buy the specific make or model that I'm advertising here. This is just something that I know works. You know, you can also buy another cheaper, better model, doesn't matter. But I explain about telephone pickup microphones, digital cameras, and so on. But also, and this is, you know, how I segue in, dash cam cameras. Now, what you could see on the image of my car is in the back, this little camera, okay? A camera here in the back and one in the front. And it's super important because if you're a victim of the secret services, they will try to run you down the motorway. They will try to cause an accident. They will try all shit on you. And a dash cam doesn't protect you, but it provides evidence, and through the evidence, it de-incentivizes this sort of bullshit. Okay, so this is very important, the equipment list. Action cam for cycling, webcam, so on, shielding material, blah, 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 blah. Also some cute stuff like lava lamps. You go here to find everything about that. And the measuring devices, all the antenna systems, okay? So everything you need to know is here. And one thing I want to draw particular attention to, thermal cameras, they are expensive, but could be very good. But something that's super dirt cheap and is very valuable is ultraviolet torches for detecting eye implants. Okay, and I said this many times over, and I'll say it again. If you are going around and you suddenly have this thing where you suddenly, I don't know, you're talking to somebody and their face turns into a face of Satan, or you're walking around and suddenly there was nothing and you look back and there's a rattlesnake and then the rattlesnake disappears, or you see an alien, or you see anything odd, it could be that you have an eye implant, and it's transparent thin film technology that the Secret Services place on your eyeball, very thin, transparent, you won't feel it, you won't know, but it can be used to project stuff on it. All sorts of weird shit. When you close your eyes, a lot of synthetic dreams are done with these eye implants. They show you a movie, okay? And because you're in a dream state, your eye still sees, but you think it's a dream. Instead, it's a high definition virtual reality movie that you're seeing. If you have this sort of shit, just buy yourself an ultraviolet torch for a couple of dollars, okay? Typically, they are used to see if, for example, your pet's urinated on the carpet again. So these ultraviolet lights are very common. But if you have an eye implant, your pupil and your iris and maybe other parts of your eye will start reflecting in funky colors. It will either be purple or turquoise or green or just very milky and very white, you know? And that means, oh shit, they've placed this transparent stuff on it. Okay. And then you understand how they did it, how they pulled off the deception. Please, please do not try to scrape it out of your eye, because it might be attached in a way that you might damage your lens. Please go and talk to a professional ophthalmologist. Explain to them this thing. You know, I'm not sure if I've got this patent in the patent list, maybe not, but there's a patent for this stuff, and then your eye doctor, your ophthalmologist, and you can work out how to get this shit out of your eye. But please don't do it yourself, because you might damage your eyesight. Okay, very important stuff. So anyway, this is the random collection of news that you need to know about. Now let's go to what I've advertised, which is let's go underground, okay, in the second half of this broadcast. Now, one of the things I want to bring up is one piece of news. I would like to start with that. Let me just bring it up. Where is it? Yes, here. Yeah, let me share my screen, because in the very first episode, that was Global Crime Fighters #1, I spent a lot of time talking about Venezuela and the fact that this thing that was staged with the president, Maduro, that it was actually staged by the Secret Services when his speech was interrupted. And the entire first episode is all about that. And look what happened in Venezuela. It says earthquake, 7.3 quake strikes off the Venezuelan coast here. And then they show, actually this one doesn't show, but if you go to Google, I think at the very top, sorry, you can see my screen is struggling here. You can see that Venezuela was hit on the coast, and this affects, you know, a lot of countries, including Trinidad and Tobago and Grenada. Grenada, not Granada in Spain, it's Grenada. But you can see it's not exactly affecting Caracas, but it's also, you know, not too far off, and it's close enough to, should it be a warning sign to the government or an extra intimidation, it could still be valid. You know, I'm not saying this is necessarily that's what it is. It could be a random earthquake, but look here, it's called a historic megaquake. Historic megaquake. Venezuela rocked by the strongest earthquake to hit the country in 100 years. Now, as you know, as somebody who knows about statistics, this should make you listen up. If it's indeed the earthquake, the strongest earthquake to hit the country in 100 years, what big fat coincidence to hit the country after the intel agencies just staged the drone attack on the president. Literally just, you know, weeks after. Isn't that a bit too much coincidence? Now, if you don't know about modern weaponry, you might think earthquakes are something that only nature can produce, or maybe it's a punishment from God, or whatever you might think. But when you know about modern weaponry, you also know that earthquakes are something that can be induced by these big electromagnetic weapon systems, and I believe HAARP is one of them. Okay, HAARP, H-A-A-R-P, is a weapon system, a big antenna system that can set up big wave patterns, topic related to standing waves and so on, but they can pump a lot of energy into the Earth's crust. They can pump a lot of energy around the world using these big electromagnetic systems. And with that, you can also induce earthquakes. Okay, you can also induce earthquakes by putting nukes underground and make them go boom next to tectonic faults. And this is something that I think was said to have caused the tsunami, the Fukushima tsunami. This is my the current status. But as you know, when the intelligence agencies and the military pull off something, they typically use something that's called redundancy. So if one system fails, you still want to pull off the event that day, you might use several systems. You might use a system live and then have a system backup, or you might use several systems on the day to confuse people. Who knows, right? But these are the different systems with which you can cause earthquakes. And the Fukushima incident, the last status I heard was that, yes, nukes were involved. And yes, they were, underground, underwater nukes to cause the tremors. And then there were other nukes mini nukes to cause the reactor meltdowns and so on. Really horrific stuff, okay? But it's not as simple as it seems. And when you hear that, even though we don't know the details, one of the things we can all do, use statistics and look at correlations and think, well, the probability for something it's an outlier. It's the first in 100 years. Pretty big event. And for such an outlier to hit Venezuela right now when the secret services seem to be involved in pulling off some shenanigans together with the military. So the mindset we should get as investigators is to open our gates and think, okay, some bullshit is to be pulled off in Venezuela by the military. Electromagnetic weapons, nukes are the reserve of the military. It could have been the Venezuelan military because they seem to be a bunch of corrupt bastards, as we analyzed in episode 1. It could also be a foreign power because it was off the coast, right? Maybe in international waters. It could also be targeted at maybe their neighbors, Trinidad and Tobago or Grenada. So what I really want from you guys is all the people who are interested, who've got the sharp brain and who've got the time, please start investigating what is happening in Venezuela in terms of the economy, in terms of finance. Finance is very important. It's the blood of everything, the lifeline of everything. What is happening in Venezuela in terms of maybe employment policy, government policy, current affairs, external, what's it called, like international treaties, perhaps. What's also happening in Grenada and Tobago, because just because they're small doesn't mean that they're, unimportant. Important stuff might be going down in Grenada and Trinidad and Tobago, and there might be things like military bases, okay? Perhaps important military bases. Perhaps the region had important military stuff underground, underwater, underground, or just underground, submarine bases, anywhere, hey, where there submarines parked with nukes on board that went boom. Woof, so many things to investigate. But this is the entire palette of possibilities should be there as hypotheses to investigate. And I want you to not just go with your favorite hypothesis, I want you to start investigating. And I need your help because I can't do it all. You know, I'm involved in court cases right now. So I'm just putting the leads out there and I'm trying to, you know, trigger your interest. But Venezuela is pretty important, I can tell you that much. And this global crime cartel, their signals have been all over Venezuela, as I showed in episode 1. And the global crime cartel has been acquiring nukes from around the world illicitly. You know, the global crime cartel masquerades as government institutions. It masquerades as international bodies. It masquerades perhaps even at people who are investigating nukes. We don't know. You know, it's a game of deceit around the world. But, you know, when stuff like this happens, we need to start, you know, like a bunch of what you would call it crawler bots on the internet, you know, start investigating, collecting information, looking for links, And we all need to go out and go and please have a look. So that's Venezuela. Keeps going down there. The other thing is I want to jump now again under the topic of underground. I want to jump to the UK, but I would like to jump to the UK through a little diversion. And the diversion is, I want to show you something on the site is called globalistwatch.com. And I'm posting on that site and I hope I can continue posting on that site because the site is amazing. It has so much information that researchers have collated. There's a research library and all sorts of stuff. So let me share my screen and show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to get onto this post, but if you want to go to globalistwatch.com here, you can find, you know, all the stuff that's being posted here, the information on DARPA. And then if you go to the left-hand side, you can see all the topics covered right here. And there is 2 sections that, you know, the owner allowed me to add. One is fighting back, and the other one is cartel signaling. And you can find my posts here, you know, regarding cartel signaling and so on. By the way, you can also find a very cute video from around the world, which is a time lapse of all the nuclear explosions having been set off. And I showed the video, and I also termed an exercise for all investigators. And this is an exercise in cartel signaling, okay? And you can find out why. But anyway, so this is Globalist Watch, and you can just become a member if you've got a Gmail account and you just join the community, Google Plus, I mean. And I think if you join, you can also post yourself, so you can help us with this endeavor of collating all the important information. But there's international relations, politics and law, business and finance, a research library. It is amazing. I have to say, I absolutely love this site. And then on there was a post, here. And this is by Artane Devian, and it says the Rothschilds patented anthrax powder. And it gives the patent number here, right there. So the Rothschilds patented anthrax powder. Well, that's really interesting. And then you can listen to the video, and that's important information. But as soon as I posted this, a gentleman from the UK said, oh, hang on a second, because this is what reminds me of this story, which is Britain's Anthrax Island. Let me just increase the zoom so that you can see it better here. Okay, Britain's Anthrax Island, and it says it's this one here. This island was quarantined for 48 years. Isn't that interesting? And it says anthrax is one of the best known agents of biological warfare and possibly one of the most feared. The bacterium occurs naturally in low levels in some animals, but when it is inhaled by humans in the form of spores, it is deadly. Sorry, the beeping is my Geiger counter. Oh, wow, I've just measured 209 microsievert per hour. Good God, something just hit me in the face really intensely. Okay, whatever that is. Anyway, returning to the article, right, returning back to this. Okay, yes, the killing power of anthrax was demonstrated by British scientists during Second World War, when it was released on a tiny Scottish island to wipe out a flock of sheep. Are you kidding me? This is actually biological warfare. Okay, I mean, it's animal cruelty, but it's also biological warfare. And it turns out they've picked this island, the name of which I cannot pronounce. Grenard, whatever, you know, island off the coast of Scotland. Interesting. So it says the island, whatever, Grenard, just off the mainland in Grenard Bay, halfway between Ullapool and I don't know what, Gaelach in the Highlands. Good God, all the Scottish people, please forgive me, whatever, I can't pronounce it. It was so contaminated that it was deemed out of bounds for almost 50 years. The 1942 test was sanctioned amid fears that Germans might attack the UK with biological or chemical weapons. You know, anthrax can be contracted by skin contact, ingestion, or inhalation, but it is through inhalation that it is at its most deadly and proves to be fatal in about 95% of cases, even with medical treatment. Experts on biological weapons have suggested that 100 kilograms of anthrax sprayed on a major city could kill more than 3 million people. Decontamination project, blah, blah. I encourage you to read it yourself. What I want to draw your attention to is that this island is said to have been out of bounds for 48 years, you know. Okay. Now, this article, I should say, is from 2001. So maybe it's still out of bounds. I don't know. I would guess it's still out of bounds, and I will explain why. If you know about cartel signaling, and if you know about the Second World War and who funded it, you will know that actually, and this might surprise you, all right, let me just check that you can still see me because it's important what I'm going to say. If you really know about the details of the Second World War, and you listen to what I've said, I am trying to explain to you that the two sides were controlled by the same people. And both sides were controlled by the Masonic crime cartel, which in itself is actually a front for the Vatican crime cartel, which also controls the Jesuits, which explains why the Nazi leaders were ferreted out using Jesuit rat lines to the US in Operation Paperclip. Okay. This is what I'm saying to you. You know, you don't have to believe me. I'm just saying. But if you accept this working hypothesis that I might be right about that, then it means that the British Masonic networks controlling the military knew exactly what the plan was and knew exactly what the German Masonic networks did and what their capabilities were, because they were working for the same corporation, the same Vatican corporation known as the Crown Corporation. When you know that British fears about a German attack are total bollocks. When you know that, and when you know that the Rothschilds patented anthrax, or a type of anthrax powder, you think, okay, let's think Vatican, let's think Rothschild, Vatican bankers, Masonic crime cartel controlling both sides. Then you very quickly come to perhaps the hypothesis that the story about anthrax having been spread on that island called Grenard or whatever is a total sham. It's bogus. Why the F would you want to do that if the same crime cartels got access to German research into anthrax? And let's remember that the Rothschilds are of German origin, a German banking house, okay? Also quoted in London. Why would you not know this? If you haven't funded the research yourself, your spies could tell you, the big spy, Vatican intelligence agency with the massive spy network, that's worldwide. Okay, so if actually anthrax hasn't been sprayed and this entire story was bullcrap and the sheep died of something else or were just slaughtered, and this whole thing is perhaps a hoax, what would be the benefit of having this island out of bounds or off limits for 48 years? Well, the advantage is that the British, including the Scottish, have got something called right of way, which means that if it's, natural ground, you can't really restrict where your population is going. they can go wherever they please because, hey, it's the British Isles and they are the Brits and the Isles belong to them. So, you know, every man has got the right of way. And if you know, there's actually a modern debate about right of way, you also know that the Scottish have a very strong right of way. You don't, especially an Englishman doesn't tell a Scot where the hell he can tread on his own land. And they are very sensitive about that. But the war industry is kind of controlled from London. So how the hell would have the British and maybe the Masonic crime cartel, you know, headquartered in cushy London, prevented a Scotsman from going on this island if he so pleases? Well, you pull off a hoax like that and you say, ooh, if you go there, you know, son, you might die. And then the Scotsman would think, fucking English. And then he thinks, okay, I'll holiday somewhere else, maybe on St. Kilda or maybe somewhere else. If I want to be alone, I go to St. Kilda, you know? And that's where you can keep your population away. And that's why you would spread this probably in the days by the BBC. And you would say, oh my God, we had to do it, the, you know, Brits, because ooh, the Germans. And the poor people at the time didn't know that the Germans were funded by the same, you know, corporation that also has a branch office in the city of London. So they couldn't figure it out. And then for 50 years, no one goes there. Now, why would that be convenient? Well, it would be really convenient if maybe you have got a ballooning nuclear industry and you're starting to build your first nuclear submarines, or you want to have a military base. Now, you saw the image of the island. It looks pretty sparse, you know, so a bunch of sheep on there. If you start building military equipment on the island, it's kind of like, you know, the buildings would be noticeable. So you go underground. What if that island is actually a big, fat submarine base and has underground cavities where you can drive a submarine in and you can disembark without being noticed from maybe satellites, you know, or maybe other stuff. Or you can't be noted by fishing boats, and you can have the entire island and you can try stuff, and maybe it causes vibrations. So you want to ensure nobody's on the surface to maybe feel the vibrations of whatever the hell you might be doing, you know, maybe big manufacturing lines. So and the key is that you need to know that the Masonic crime cartel funded both sides, and the Second World War was a staged event where the same person had, you know, puppets and his hands up the puppets in Britain and up the puppets in Germany, and then above the surface they go like, you know, Second World War. And actually behind the scenes it's all just a bunch of Masonic guys, you know, doing the same Masonic cartel signaling and getting money from the Vatican. As soon as you know that, you can call, you know, bull crap on the story. And as soon as you know that, you will have a lead on potentially a big fat military base where some very unsavory things are going on that, you know, perhaps should be kept hidden even from the Scottish population. And let's remember that both the English and the Scots should be sovereign people. And if, you know, if they don't know what their military does, who does? Who the hell does? Okay. Now, I'm not pulling the plug on this Grenade Island to embarrass the Scots or the British military industry. I'm pulling the plug on them because what I'm trying to say is that Anthrax, or the Rothschild thing, there's lots of very odd things happening with the Rothschilds and has been for, you know, hundreds of years. And maybe this is not a military base for the Brits or the Scots. Maybe it's a military base for the Rothschilds. Maybe it's a military base for the organized crime cartel. Maybe it's a military base for foreign nationals. You wouldn't know because it's classified. You have no idea what's going on that island, do you? You haven't been there for 50 years. So if you're looking for, say, English nukes going missing, perhaps start looking there too. If you perhaps look for English nukes going missing, as has been reported, there has been reports, I think by Michael Shrimpton. I have to look up his interview. It was on the Richie Allen show. And then all the videos of the Richie Allen show went poof. You know, when the Richie Allen show was taken off YouTube because it was so informative. But some of the interviews are coming back. But I distinctly remember Michael Shrimpton reporting that there was a nuke going on a walk, a very strange walk, and kind of taken on a submarine and resurfacing. And at that point, I think maybe even the Americans saw a little spike in the plutonium radiation signal going like poof on a satellite. It's like, ooh, what's that? And then no more news where the nuke went. And isn't it odd that English nukes would be going on walks without the Five Eyes knowing about it? And then you have events in Venezuela where perhaps nukes were set off, although it could be done by other means. And then you need to park the nukes in the meantime. You need to make them disappear here, maybe appear there, park the submarine or refuel it somewhere else. Woo, 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 woo. And there are all these bits and pieces around the world that the nations of the world don't know anything about. So if you don't know about the secret military bases, you are totally oblivious. If you don't know that Norway has so many secret underground bases, it almost looks like Switzerland, you don't know what the real world actually looks like. If you don't know that Switzerland has basically nuclear bases and bunkers absolutely everywhere, you really don't know anything about the world. But you need to know about the stuff that's happening underground. And then once you know about the military bases underground, you can do several things. When you hear about entire cities underground, you don't just go, oh, nonsense. Because you think, hang on, if they had entire islands already, earmarked for underground potential manufacturing already in the Second World War, or they had a lot of time to do a lot of underground digging, by now they could have built underground cities. And then you start thinking not just about the stuff you can see, you start thinking, what's the kind of stuff that I can't see that's underground that I need to detect by other means? And you can always detect it by other means because they have to be always, supply chains going to these underground bases. Very few underground bases can last forever underground, without any external, in and out. So let's look for that. And then the other thing is, if you're looking for thousands of children missing and they seem to have just gone poof, disappeared off the surface of the earth, maybe start thinking, could they have gone into, a never-ending supply of submarines going to underground cities and underground bases and da-da-da-da-da? Because you can store children in many places. You can store them distributed in homes. You can store them in disused homes. You can store them in active homes, kind of hide children. But in human society and communities, it kind of shows if a child that doesn't belong there appears, or a lot of children appear. So I wager that while children are kept above ground, they're also kept off limits and military bases. I'm 100% sure of that. And I'm 100% sure that children are kept underground in large quantities. And once you take the children underground, no one can keep track of them. Once you take children underground to secret military bases, they're gone. No one's going to go and look for them. And this is really bad because we are looking for thousands of missing children. We're looking for thousands of missing people as well. Where the hell have they been taken? As soon as you disappear to one of these sites, you can be experimented on in the most Nazi cruel fashion, even more cruel than what I'm getting here in Switzerland. You can be abused as a child. You can be farmed. They can start building up entire underground armies. They can, farm humans. They can do genetic experiments, and there's evidence for all of these things happening. And we don't know where the missing children are. Or that's to say the intelligence agencies know because they seem to traffic them, and the military knows because they also seem to traffic them. So now we need to go after the military bases. If we're looking for children, we need to go into the military bases. In the US, the search for the children has the Veterans for, what's it called? It's the Veterans for Children. It's Craig Sawyers who runs this. Hang on, let me look up the precise name. This is so embarrassing. Craig Sawyer. Veterans. Exactly. So he is trying to stop child trafficking and arrest elite pedophiles. Veterans for Child Rescue, that's the name. So so everywhere around the world, I want you to have a look at what the Americans are doing because they are already on the way. Okay, they're already making a big hoo-ha, as they should, out of the missing children. And Craig Sawyer here is a Navy SEAL who puts himself forward. This is the Veterans for Child Rescue. You can find their homepage on Facebook. You can find interviews with the man and so on. Here, this is their website. And they have, you know, oops, oh God, sorry. I don't have enough storage space. So here you can see, oh shit. Can you still see me? Can you still see me? I hope I can still be heard because I don't have enough storage space on this computer. I'm sorry. I was opening so many things at the same time. Hang on, let me. Okay, you can look up this stuff, and I need to close a couple of windows so that I, you know, I can still. All right. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. I think this is not even sabotage. It's just me being stupid and not having enough storage space on my computer to run all these open tabs. But anyway, so the Americans, what they're doing is that they got the Navy SEALs and they are looking around for children and child trafficking. And the reason why you need Navy SEALs to bust child trafficking rings is because the child trafficking rings, you know, are sometimes being run by ex-military people. So it's the military fighting the military to save the children. And it's also organized crime. So you need people who are being specially trained who can actually do this job, because every normal investigator would get killed. Sometimes the police is not equipped or not trained to deal with these organized criminals. So that's a really good thing. And that's where we all need to be going. You know, we need people who are maybe not in active military service to start putting themselves forward for dangerous yet crucial jobs. And I wish the Germans would do that. I wish the Swiss would do that, because there's so many underground bunkers here in Switzerland. I bet you that children are being hidden here as well. You know, and the British should do this, and they should, you know, start doing this. But what I want to say, and this is something that Craig Sawyer and his team of Navy SEALs needs to do at some point, they need to start getting permission to have a look around military bases looking for children. Military bases need to start doing audits and find out what's going on every single one of their bases. These audits need to be done, whoever, of course, you know, the top security clearance, whatever the F they need, but they need to look for missing children. They need to look for shutting down illegal human experimentation. They need to look into shutting down illegal genetic experimentation. And there's so many victim reports and so many survivor reports that imply that all sorts of really, really, really sick shit is going on at these places. Like, so sick, I can't even bring myself to talk about it. Really horrific stuff where people are being tortured alive. I would like to already hint at the entire industry into, I think it's called an adrenochrome, which is, you know, a hormone that gets released into the bloodstream under extreme distress, like having, for example, your face filleted off while you're alive, which happened to children, for the production of adrenochrome and stuff like that. You know, having your limbs cut off slowly happened to children. We need to find these fuckers, and we need to find them fast. All right. So we really need to have expert people start doing this. And I'm telling you, underground bases, underground cities are the next frontier. We need to go down there. We need to find pedophiles above ground. And above ground, there are actually so many people already doing citizen arrests. There are so many people entrapping pedophiles, violent pedophiles, and going after them and dragging them into court. That's exactly what we need to do to protect our children. But at some point, the military needs to tread where only the military can, which is these hidden military bases. So at some point, every military in the world needs to appoint an audit team that goes around and starts looking for all the criminal shit that the so-called New World Order, which is actually a global crime cartel, has been using the national military bases for, which has nothing to do with national security. The production and trade in adrenochrome and children and women and defenseless men has nothing to do with the, you know, national security at all. It has to do with organized crime. And every military around the world has been already captured by organized crime. So we need to clear it out. We need to go there. Okay. Now, this is the public military bases. And I want to go to another topic of military bases. And I would like to show you something. Hang on. Let me just close a couple of windows again. So another topic about going underground. Hang on. Actually, can I just jump somewhere? which is not in the sequence when I wanted to say it, but it's in the sequence of I need to say to get local storage space on my computer freed up. Let me just share my screen and let me just jump briefly sideways before coming back to underground stuff. I also would like you to start learning about stuff that's hidden under the surface in other areas, not just the Earth's crust. I want you to start learning about what is hidden under news reports, for example, cartel signaling, but I also want you to learn about what is hidden under, you know, political things and current affairs, and under the bonnet of pretty much everything these days are complex computer systems. And everywhere you've got complex computer systems, you've got hackers, and everything, every time you have anything even connected to the internet, even vaguely, you have the NSA. So if you're looking under the surface, sort of metaphorically underground, you will have to start learning about the NSA and what exactly it does. Now, if you're somewhere in, say, Trinidad and Tobago, or you're somewhere in, I don't know what, in Taiwan, or you're in Novosibirsk, you might think, why the hell should I need to know about the NSA? Frankly, in Novosibirsk, I worry about not freezing my ass off in winter. That's my first priority. I understand. But your second priority should be NSA, because every single time you send an email, the NSA is recording it, storing it forever at, for example, Bluffdale and other places. So everything you send, even from Novosibirsk to your aunt in, I don't know what, St. Petersburg, the NSA stores it. Any phone call you make, any email you send, anything, all your communication, your mobile phones, sure as hell, you know. So you need to know about the NSA. Now, if you're looking for information on the NSA, the last place to look is the NSA itself, because they're like classified, 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 don't look here, citizen, move along. So the best way to find out about the NSA is from NSA whistleblowers, from retired intelligence professionals, and from an organization called Veteran Intelligence Professionals for Sanity. The emphasis on sanity is a really good one if you know anything about the NSA, you know. Now, these people are really leading the field, you know, and they are leading the field in a sense that they are at the top of their profession and were when they retired, but they're retired, so they're not part of the system. And all of them are whistleblowers. So all of them had the spine to stand up and say, this is not right. And I think most of them, if not all of them, took severe sticks for it, you know. And I mean that they had their life crippled, they had physical injuries, their families took physical injuries, they had perhaps family members injured so badly that they died, you know, or they have the usual stuff of being assaulted by the intelligence agencies, and they still stuck with it, you know. So they are a very, very good lot to actually listen to. Now, what I would like to show you is a very important interview, and I'm sorry about the reflection of the opposite building in my glasses. It annoys me and it must annoy you, so I'm trying to look down so that you don't have this. But let me share my screen and point you to a very important interview. This is really, really important. It is from the 19th of August, 2017. It's a year old. All right, it's a year old, and yet it couldn't be more topical. This is an interview at the LaRouche PAC, a live event at Manhattan Town Hall. And it has Ray McGovern, which is the gentleman you can see here, and it has Bill Binney, the former technical director of NSA. Ray McGovern is formerly CIA, Bill Binney is formerly NSA. Now, Bill Binney can be seen here. If I've got enough storage space, it can bring it up. Anyway, what I want to say to you is this is a 2-hour interview, and it is really worth your time, because you will start hearing about all the dirty shenanigans going on behind the scenes with blaming Trump. But in the entire discussion, there will be programs revealed that affect us all. Programs that are run by NSA unlawfully, I should say, on Americans, and pretty criminally on the rest of the planet as well, you know? So here you have the discussion, and you also have, you know, you can get to know these gentlemen and listen to what they are saying. Unfortunately, I don't think there's a link to Veterans Intelligence Professionals for Sanity from here, is there? Oh, that's a bit of a shortcoming. So anyway, so you look it up yourself. Let me just close this video to free up the storage space. Here, I want you to actually bookmark this, Veteran Intelligence Professionals for Sanity. Here's the Wikipedia entries here. And I want you to bookmark the VIPS, this is the acronym, the VIPS memos. And if you have the time, go back and read them all. Do you know why? Because this is the biggest public service revealing stuff that's metaphorically underground that you can have in the world. And this stuff that's in the VIPS memos is of global importance. They have pleas for humanitarian asylum for Julian Assange. They have information about Iran, right? They make memos to the president. And the important stuff about these memorandi is that these memorandi are written by the same people who used to write memos to the president. For example, Ray McGovern, I think, was in charge of the daily briefing of the president, right? So he would write the daily briefing to the president. Oh, by the way, I noticed that it's gone really, really dark. So let me just a moment, let me get up and turn on the lights in my study. It's getting a bit dark in Zurich because I started late. So how about now? Is this better? Okay. So the thing about Ray McGovern is that he used to provide the intelligence reports, the daily briefings to the president, if I understand it correctly. And here you have these people who are at the peak of their knowledge with decades of expertise, right? And here they're providing all this intelligence analysis globally for you for free. You can have the same standard of insight as the president of the United States should have. So wherever you are, if you're in Taiwan, in Novosibirsk, if you're in London, if you're in Zurich, you should read this stuff because I think it's a public service. Because what I'm about as a systems analyst is I'm all about helping to transition the system from a really shit one that is thousands of years old and that has killed millions to one that will be brand new, and it will be a collective humanitarian effort. We are in this transition period from really shit to hopefully a lot better, and hopefully maybe one day not shit at all. So in this, you can't, I'm trying to say to you, you can't transition the world if you just do it one country at a time, because what happens, imagine you're in deep shit, okay? You're in deep shit. The entire world is in deep shit. I think we can all agree on that. And then one country starts lifting out of shit. What happens? What happens is that the shit, just like if you think about an object rising out of the water starts flowing off elsewhere. You didn't make shit disappear, did you? You just made it dislocate. So as soon as one part starts lifting out of shit, the shit streams everywhere. And suddenly the surrounding countries or surrounding systems start getting a lot of shit. Now, this is not nice. Now, the way around it is if we all around the world start moving together. And as we're moving up, we are getting rid of shit. Sorry to use that word so much, but I really want it to stick in your head, okay? I want to have an image that even if it's negative publicity, it sticks. So you can't just lift China out of the shit, or all the shit will flow to Europe and Africa and the US. You can't have the US just lifting out because all the shit's going to come to Europe. And thank you very much. We have a lot of shit already. Don't need more. So given that we all agree that we could do with less bullshit, let's all lift it out together. To do that, if you want to lift a global system out of something and you want to transition it, you have to do a lot of global coordination. You have to have, the first thing you need is global transparency, okay? Because as the system starts moving, sorry, that is my Geiger counter showing that I'm being hit by 55 microsievert power. Not a big deal. So as we're lifting out, we need to each know and be honest about what the hell we're doing, because this will be the biggest transition. I kid you not. This is the first time we do something like this around the globe. All right. Never ever have stuff like this been achieved in a non-bloody way. So we want to do it the non-bloody way. So if you want to transition a big global complex system, the first thing that you do is you do what's called a system broadcast. Okay. Now, a system broadcast is essential for a transit in a complex system. What it means is you have a few places that are public, and they make a system broadcast, as in, guys, it's like when a CEO comes out and says, guys, we are doing this, we're having this management transition, or, you know, it's mergers and acquisitions, whatever the hell. Big changes are coming to the company or to the way we were doing things. But so that everybody knows what's going on, this is the plan, this is the timeline, this is what we're going to do. And it's a system broadcast. Every company director knows that if you want to do something big, you better do a system broadcast before you start, because otherwise the information standard will be different in your company. There will be all sorts of sheer forces. People will not know what's going on. They will panic. They will think maybe I will be made redundant. Oh my God, what's going to happen to my paycheck? Yeah, it's going to be mayhem. But if you do a system broadcast, everybody knows exactly what's going on. No problem. We can, you know, get on to dealing with it and getting on. So what you have to do for a big company, you have to do for planet Earth as well. Now, a good company director also knows that if he starts bullshitting his people in a transition, he will lose trust so quickly that people might hear what he says, but start making their own assumptions, because they'll think, I don't trust the public pronouncement. I'll start making my own theories. People will make their individual theories and hypotheses about what's going on, and the whole thing explodes again. So you need two things. You need a system broadcast, and you need transparency. And of course, three things. You need honesty. Honesty. So this is why I'm making these broadcasts, because I want to teach you everything I know in the most transparent, most public, and in a global accessible way. Okay? But I'm a small fish, and the veteran intelligence professionals for sanity are really big fish. So if you're somewhere around the world, you should really listen to them. They're bringing out these memos, I think, every couple of weeks, or maybe every couple of months, but I think it's every couple of weeks. Have a look and read all the past ones so that you are up to the same standard. And these people are, first of all, pretty honest, because they're all whistleblowers, you know. They are all public. You can see their faces. You can see their interviews. You can assess if you trust them as much as I do. And then you can read their memos, which is also what they send to the US president. So you and the US president will be up to the same standard in this regard. He might know more about other stuff, but they tend to put out things about stuff that really matters. So just use the service, please. Educate yourself. Stop watching fucking TV, you know, all the time, and start learning about this stuff. And especially if you're one of my Swiss neighbors, or if you're in Switzerland in generally, please do start reading this stuff, because you in Switzerland have one huge advantage, which I don't even have in Switzerland. You're allowed to vote. I'm just a shitty little foreigner, you see. I'm just here on, you know, a permit, but you are sovereign. So you can force your government to listen to you. You can force your government to do exactly what you want it to do, and you can have referenda. And this is really important, that you have the right referenda, and when they come up, you know what to vote for. So every Swiss who speaks English needs to read the pronouncements of the veteran intelligence professionals for sanity, and the Swiss who have the time need to translate those things into German. If they don't do it, I showed in, well, actually I showed it in the German version, but anyway, you can use Google Translate to translate it to English, but there's something even better, which is, it's actually a little app in Google Chrome. You just, I think some of the Google Chrome versions come shipped with it, you know, automatically. And there's a little translate button that you can click, and then it translates the website that you're looking at into your language. And that, probably AI-enabled translation device, is really good. I read the terms and conditions for an online streaming platform in Russian, and I could understand the legalese when it was translated from Russian to English. So do that. Being hit with 76 microsievert. per hour. You know, do that, please, and have a look. If you know that you understand and you get up to speed. So this is really important. Anyway, so I said that this entire thing was just to be a quick sidestepping about metaphorical underground that I want to talk about. Now, let me go back to physical underground. All right. And one of the things that I would like to take you to is the Playboy Mansion. Yeah, I want to take my viewers to the Playboy Mansion. So hang on, the Playboy Mansion. Okay, let me, yes. If you, may I just share my screen? And I want to show you a couple of things that I want to show you in the mansion. Hang on. So I want to show you a few images. Here, I'm opening them in the background as I speak. All right. And I want to show you where these images are from. So let me just share my screen. Boom. And let me take you to this place. If you go to Google and you type in Playboy Mansion tunnels, all right, you will see under images the exact images that I'm going to show you. I've just downloaded them so that they are higher resolution. Now, these are images. Let me just go here. These are plans for the tunnel system under the Playboy Mansion, which was Hugh Heffner's, I think, private residence. There are even images of what the tunnels look like underground here. So, you know, I think this is here, Hugh Heffner. So you've got a bunch of steps going really deep underground. And you can see that there was something, have a look at more images so that you really understand what you're looking at here. But you had basically a tunnel system going from the Hugh Heffner residence. All right, let me just close this and let me switch to, sorry, I'm going to get onto that in a bit, but let me switch to the actual images I've downloaded because they're high resolution. So this is an image that shows you where the tunnel system is and what it looks like. Here's a map, a local map. This is the Heffner residence, right here, Hugh Heffner's private estate. And then you can see a set of steps leading down, and then there are tunnels going off in one direction, going off in another direction to another residence. And then along the way, there are other tunnels here going to other residences. It turns out that in this really expensive, what to call it, community of prime real estate. Sorry, this is another hit with radioactivity. But anyway, of prime real estate, you have underground an entire rabbit warren of interconnected homes. Interesting, is it not? Now, the homes that I would like to point you to is, let's just zoom in on the image. So this is the Hugh Heffner residence. You've got a staircase here, you know, and then you have a tunnel here, and a tunnel there. And maybe I've got an even bigger image, yes, here. And if you read it, right, this is the bottom of the staircase. This is the northbound tunnel to the residence of Mr. J. Nicholson. Jack Nicholson. There's a tunnel system that connected Hugh Heffner to the residence of Jack Nicholson. Ooh, interesting. Now let's look at the other images. The other tunnels, what are they called? Let me zoom in. Let's go to this one here, up there. This is the northbound tunnel to the residence of Mr. J. Khan, James Khan, I presume. Okay, here you've got Mr. Jack Nicholson. And then you have here tunnel system southbound to Mr. K. Douglas, Kirk Douglas, I presume. So, ooh, you've got this tunnel system connecting Hugh Heffner with James Caan, Jack Nicholson, and Kirk Douglas. Ooh la la, interesting, no? No one knew about this. And they are, you know, underground caverns, and this is a really long tunnel system. So what I've just shown you is just this stuff here with extra tunnels, a very long tunnel system, and connecting to other places. I'm not going to say anything about what these tunnels might be used for. I'm just pointing out to you the simple fact that you have these multimillionaires and they all seem to be interconnected by tunnels. That's very interesting. And I guess I want to put to you the concept that, you know, if you have people connected by tunnels and you've got these special residences, perhaps there's something else going on. And it's underground because we all are not meant to know about it. It could also be that these are just best friends and they're like these guys, and actually these tunnels are like panic rooms. So should there be a burglar in the home of, you know, Hugh Heffner, and let's be honest, if you're a burglar, we've got a choice, why not burgle Hugh Hefner's home? Because, hey, you know, you might find something interesting, something fun, who knows? And then Hugh Heffner can just, you know, escape down the tunnel and then hide out at his friend Kirk Douglas or his friend James Caan, or, you know, and just be safe until they call the police. Could be, but we also know that residences have got panic rooms, and you can kick ass from your panic room. In most of these residences, you don't have to just, you know, travel miles to Mr. Kirk Douglas and then hope you knock on his tunnel door in a hopefully not inopportune moment. So these tunnel systems seem to be something interesting. Now, without commenting any further on the Hugh Hefner tunnel system, because frankly, I know nothing about it, I would like to point you to make it jump to a TV kids series, okay? A TV kids series that I mentioned before. And I also explained to you in great detail the importance of children television. And I also realize I'm going above 2 hours, but this is pretty important, so please bear with me for a bit longer. Now, children TV programs are very important because, as you know, the crime cartel traffics children. The crime cartel also programs children, as in Monarch programs children, does MK Ultra on them. And by now, sadly, these days, a lot of the kids have got brain chips and head chips, and the crime cartel programs them literally. They program the microchips on their brain. Okay, now, if you're looking for programming and hints on programming, well, TV programs, they are called programs because they program us. So this is why, as an investigator, I'm very interested in kids' TV shows. I'm interested in Disney movies. I'm interested in series, you know, that are very popular, that are on popular streaming services and so on. And I want to know what these programs program into the brain of young children. Now, one show I already mentioned many times, and I shall do so on, you know, numerous occasions in the future, is a TV show that I would like to point out to you and show you. And I'm not advertising any particular streaming service here. I just would like to bring you the information that you need to look at. So please forgive me. This is not advertising. I'm just going to share my screen and show you a streaming service that, you know, I am using. And by the way, I'm going to publish very soon the actual accounts for what I did with your donations, you know, because it's all just in the public service. And one of the things you will find on the agenda is, yes, you can see it, a Netflix subscription. And the reason why I do that, it's not for my personal fun, because frankly, I hate watching TV. It is because I'm investigating the crime cartel and because I'm investigating cartel signaling in programs. So if you see this item, don't think it's for my personal pleasure. This is my work, okay? And you have paid by a Netflix subscription. You have paid for my work so that I can bring this sort of stuff to you. Now, I want to take you to a Netflix original series here that is specifically for children. And if you allow me, I would like to show you. I can't give you sound because as soon as I give you sound, you know, it's kind of intellectual property sort of stuff. But I want to show you quietly the starting sequence of this Netflix series. And I want to show you why it's really interesting and why it got my attention. I also would like to say that this series has a film version, which is called, it's called Lemony Snicket's Series of Unfortunate Events. And then there's this other, the Netflix series, which is what I'm looking now, that is in many ways totally different. Okay, and I'm now talking about the series, which is called A Series of Unfortunate Events. And I'm looking at season 2, episode 3. It's called the Ersatz Elevator Part 1. All right. Now, the story follows, as it's described here, the story of the 3 children, Violet, Klaus, and Sonny, who became orphans when their house was burned down. And, you know, so anyway, I just would like to show you silently the starting sequence and just have a look. Okay, now stop. What you can already see as a starting sequence is a wallpaper of eyes, of single eyes here. So that's the crime cartel. This is the baddie here, you know, Count Olaf. So you can see him here. But now watch for cartel signaling. That's, you know, Mr. Snicket. Then you can see the children, Violet, Klaus, and then, oops, what did we just see there? We saw a big one eye. We just saw this guy pin a pupil, the image of a pupil up on the screen, you know. This is a banker who appears in the series. Oops, then you saw the eye again. And then you can see the image of an eye. And then these one, so this is the, you know, the eye here. And then you can see 1, 2, 3 arms. And ironically, this is also 6, 6, 6. Okay, and this is kind of a logo of a secret society that appears in this film. Okay, this is Sonny, the toddler. These are the orphans. And this is the story where they are in the home of a banker. Okay, so there we are. This is just scenes from the film, and you can already see the black and white here. You can already see the hints of Masonic tiling. These are baddies. These are just images from the show that's about to start. This is children in cages. Now, this is very important because actually real children are kept in real cages by the crime cartel. Okay, oh, and here you can see Larry the waiter making the symbol. So the kids who are watching this TV program will be told that this is a symbol for the secret organization called VDF. But Larry actually makes the symbol, as we all know, of the Illuminati, or rather of the, you know, Illuminati is one flavor of the Masonic crime cartel. He makes the symbol of the all-seeing eye with 666. And you can see a lot of artists making the same hand movement. Now, if you're a criminal investigator, by the time you get here, you think, interesting, that's something I should watch, isn't it? So you can see here, you know, different motifs, and then you can see Lemony Snicket typing up the exact story, you know. Funnily enough, you see also this image in this kids program of cranioectomy. Here you can see a brain and the spine and the nervous system. And again, just one eye. All right, interesting. And then you can see maps, cases, poison darts. Oh, what's that? You can see the sun, a telescope, and in the story, I'm sorry, spoiler alert, you can find out how Count Olaf burns down buildings with, frankly, what is a kid's version of a directed energy weapon using the sun. Also know that the sun is a symbol of the Jesuits, okay? But here, actually, you've got the kids' version of the design plans for a very simple directed energy weapon. Interesting, okay? There's all these links connecting everybody. Oh, and this is now very quickly a sequence of the all-seeing eye. And I'm not going to jump back, but you know, if you look at it yourself, you will see you have seen the all-seeing eye in several versions. And I would like to point out this one, which is a reptile, a snake or crocodile's eye. You can see the scales here. Interesting, no? You have basically the cartel signaling of the global crime cartel smeared all over the starting sequence of this, you know, of this kids' TV story. This is now the title page, and you saw a human eye, and then this symbol with the 666 and with the eye contained being shown. Now, at this point, I'm already thinking that children are being primed for something. They're being programmed for something. So what the hell are they being programmed for? They are being programmed, I would say, and again, spoiler alert, to start associating the symbol of the eye and the 666 all-seeing eye symbol with a secret organization. And on top of that, when you listen to the story, with a secret organization that is good, that is, it had their parents were in it, their best friends were in it, their guardians were in it. It's a good organization of good people. Can you see the brainwash of the children now? This is very insidious, because what we have here are the symbolisms of the organized crime cartel that infiltrated every aspect of society. And I will show you how the all-seeing eye, 666, and the pentagrams are showing up at places like false flag events, at crimes and sites of crime staged by the intelligence agencies. For example, what happened to President Maduro, discussed in the first episode, but also at other places. And here you have a child TV program. Oh, by the way, and the all-seeing eye also shows up at the let's all watch out for housebreaking posters of the cantons police Zurich. That they have the all-seeing eye, and intelligence agencies have the all-seeing eye. GCHQ has the all-seeing eye. German intelligence agency Bundesnachrichtendienst has the all-seeing eye on their website. Secret societies, secret services, the Masonic crime cartel, the global crime cartel, all have the all-seeing eye. And what I'm going to say to you is that they're all the same. They are one corporation, and this is one of their corporate logos, their corporate recognition signals. And you have a Netflix series made by Netflix here, you know, for children, priming the children to think that the all-seeing eye is a good thing. It's a secret organization that's good for them, that has good people in it. And maybe it got subverted for a bit. I tell you, nothing could be further from the truth. This is brainwash of your children live. Okay, but then you can see this wall, and then, you know, secret codes and so on. Fires, so many fires. And remember that I showed you the directed energy weapon drawing of the sun and this lens system. And then you have house fires. Well, directed energy weapons are currently being used, for example, in California, to burn down houses, just like this. They have been used in Liverpool to burn down a car park. I've already published it on Twitter. I'll talk about it more maybe in the next episode. And you've got a kit series with the all-seeing eye, 666, directed energy weapons, and burning homes in the starting sequence. Now tell me what to make of this. Okay, devastated houses, and the all-seeing eye again, this time around the baddie, Count Olaf. Okay, and now it starts. Now, by the way, for the advanced investigators, I'm not going to show you the full film. I'm going to show you the starting sequence and in a few seconds. But then every film starts with this typed message for Beatrice. When we met, my life began. Soon afterwards, yours ended. Beatrice died. Who is Beatrice? It's not revealed anywhere, but this is a film clearly about the global crime cartel. And I have said to you in one of the Techno Crime Fighters episodes that most curiously, it was Princess Beatrice or Beatrix, I think a Belgian princess, who died in a suspicious car crash on the shores of the Vierwaldstätter See, a big lake here in Switzerland. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind, because every episode starts with a message to Beatrice. And this is filled with cartel signaling. So keep the death of Princess Beatrix here in Switzerland in mind, please. This is a conjecture. This is my personal advice to you. Keep that in mind. But anyway, I'm not going to talk about Beatrice or Beatrix. I'm going to talk to you about what happens next, because you will see a tunnel system. And this tunnel system is lit up, and it has street signs: Quagmire, Baudelaire, Denouement. Okay. Baudelaire is the name of the orphans. It's the name of the children. It's the name of Violet, Klaus, and Sunny. Quagmire is another family name, and all in the film, that is, but also a quagmire is also, you know, has another meaning. Denouement has another meaning and might be a family name, although it hasn't, I haven't met the episode yet where it appears. But it looks like Quagmire and Baudelaire are family names, and this is a tunnel system leading to family homes. It looks just like the tunnel system under the Hugh Heffner residence. And here you have a Netflix series for children that's filled with cartel signaling and the symbols of the global crime cartel, showing you a tunnel system where the family names are marked. Interesting. And then you can see the, you know, basically the gentleman who tells the story here, Mr. Snicket, whose brother, another Snicket, appears in this episode. And he clearly has access to this tunnel system. So presumably the Snicket's home is also connected to this tunnel system. And he's going around, right? And here's Montgomery, another home name, family name, pointing up to the staircase. And he's going up through a staircase system. You can see other tunnels here in the background. And it looks just like the Hugh Heffner residence. Now, here, and I'm going to stop the film in a few seconds before the makers descend down on me. He's coming out on street level here. Right, I'll stop it right there. I'm not going to show you any more of this film. But what I'm trying to put to you here, you know, is that we have this kids series, you know, with elements that we have met elsewhere. And it's almost like familiarizing kids, real kids in real life, who, open brackets, might be in the process of being trafficked or being taken somewhere by a nice uncle, nice, familiarizing themselves with the concept that there might be tunnel systems with street signs leading to family residences. Interesting, is it not? It's a Netflix series. Meanwhile, you've got the Hugh Heffner residence with a tunnel system leading to family residences. Maybe there were street signs. I'm not sure if there were street signs in the Hugh Heffner tunnel warren. But anyway, you get my point. Meanwhile, there are reports about tunnel systems in underground cities. There are tunnel systems under Washington, D.C., under London, under Paris, everywhere. We have to assume that they are also under other major cities. So what we have is the kids programming the kids to associate a secret organization, a good one, with the love for their parents, and associating it with tunnel systems, and then, you know, good people using the tunnel systems to, you know, go secretly here and there. I find this highly dangerous, simply because kids, especially once they're taken down tunnels, good luck to them, you know? So you should be very astutely aware what Netflix is putting out. And that's why I don't read Playboy, and I was sent the connection to the tunnel system by an investigator who is investigating Playboy and cartel signaling. You know, you can find him on Twitter, and he's under the name of @FightingMonarch, and I encourage you to read his articles that he puts out, because it's about monarch programming, and he does a very, very good job to explain childhood abuse, monarch programming, you know, all this sort of stuff that has proliferated around the world. And he sent me this link and he said, check this out. Look what they found under the Hugh Heffner residence. So I'm very grateful to the gentleman. And now I'm going to spin it further, and I'm going to say, hey, look at the Netflix series and look at how the two connect. And now let's start thinking, what is this for? So I have to say, I really like the film, Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, because it was all teaching kids actually that some evil bankers and evil aristocrats might be after their wealth and might be using directed energy weapons to kill their parents and then get their wealth. You know, I was like, blow me, that's a Hollywood movie. That's like Disclosure. It's like, you know, it's like WikiLeaks, basically. That's what I thought. So I really liked the film. But when I saw the series, I just thought, oh my goodness. And it's almost like entrapping children. And they really like the film. Of course, they're going to watch the series. Just like I did. I was like, hang on, you've got a series? Interesting, show me. And then I'm thinking, oh my God, the series is dark. And it's deadly. It's insidious. So I really say, if you're a parent in Switzerland, or your parent anywhere in the world, or your parent in the US, have a good look at what these children are seeing and educate them about this. If they already watched a series of unfortunate events and liked it, start talking to them. You have to start talking to them about secret societies and about how bad they are. You have to kind of system judo what the intelligence agencies or Hollywood or Netflix did to your children's brain, but you might as well use the occasion to have, that conversation with them, an even much more important conversation, because they won't have the natural instincts to figure out secret societies and secret services by themselves. So you should have the conversation with them and say, hang on, kids, okay, look at what happened to the orphans. Their parents were in a secret society thinking it was a good thing, and then it got captured by evil people. And then they start burning homes down and all this sort of stuff. Do not trust tunnels. Tunnels are dangerous. 666 is dangerous. The all-seeing eye is dangerous. It's captured. And then, by the way, kids, if you're 8 years old, I can teach you something about systems analysis already. If it's secret, it can be captured. Anything that is secret is dangerous because it can be captured by evil people, and then nobody will know about it because it's secret. But I'm telling you, parents, you have to do the work. You have to literally undo what Netflix is pumping into your children's brains. And people in the US told me, oh, my child starts talking about the Illuminati. Yes. So the Illuminati are moving into schools. They are putting out their propaganda, their advertising. All the musical artists and all the Hollywood actors are doing Illuminati cartel signaling. Just Google yourself all-seeing eye and Hollywood and see how many people are cartel signaling. In fact, I know you're not going to do it if I just tell you to, so let's just do it together. Seriously, no, I want you to see what it returns. Okay, let's type Hollywood, Hollywood actors all-seeing eye. Let's go to image search. Boom. Here you can see a lot of, artists doing the all-seeing eye, covering up one eye, you can only see the other. That's the all-seeing eye. And all of these photographs are staged. Okay, so you have who? Angelina Jolie, Britney Spears over here. Who else do I recognize? Is that Uma Thurman? I have no idea. Yeah, I think she is. Somewhere here is Beyonce. I can't spot her. Male actors, Lady Gaga, Mariah Carey. You've got a lot. These are the people that your children might know about or look up to or listen to their music, watch their music videos. Here you have Katy Perry doing the all-seeing eye, even in its pharaonic form, which is called the Eye of Horus. By the way, if you've got an eye implant, it's called the Eye of Horus effect. Again, showing that the Illuminati or cartel signaling, Masonic Vatican symbol of the all-seeing eye, is connected to implants, non-consensual implants. And then you can do the same thing, and you can type this and type, what you can type all-seeing eye, and then, I don't know, politicians. Surely, come on, give me some politicians doing something. Okay, here's Warren Buffett. I mean, no surprise there. But here you can see the all-seeing eye in its form on the $1 bill. All right, so you get my drift, okay? So you need to know about this stuff because this is an organized crime cartel that is getting into the brains of your children. It's kind of going metaphorically underground into the stuff that you cannot see. They are putting memes and they're putting sometimes positive associations with these symbols into the brains of your children. And you cannot tell that your children are running around with these associations and thinking, oh, if, an artist does the all-seeing eye symbol, I don't want to flash it around because then people screenshot and say, oh, yeah, Katherine Horton, she's in the Illuminati. I am so not. I would not be attacked and mauled if I were. But if you see these symbols that the actors make, your children suddenly will think, oh, I see, Britney Spears is in this secret organization. I really love Britney Spears, and that must be a good organization. No, it's organized crime. Organized crime is making a mint of Hollywood and the music industry. And Britney Spears had to sign up with the organized criminals and show their symbols to get a contract and become a millionaire, multi-millionaire, you know? So if your children have these sort of associations, you know, and they are suddenly taken down a tunnel, which maybe has the all-seeing eye, they might think, oh, it's secret, but it's really good. You know, this uncle or this teacher or this whoever, this person I met, he's probably part of the secret organization. Maybe I'll become, you know, a member of the secret organization. This is deadly. You'll never see your children again. So you have to have this conversation with your children and know that the sort of shit is being put out, and know that if your children disappear, they might be taken underground. And as this film showed, you know, the tunnel system came out in the middle of the street. It could have an entrance in a private home that your child was invited to visit by some trick. They could have been disappeared literally off the street, just taken around the corner on a building site, you know, the screen of a building site. The child wouldn't know, and then somebody says, oh, look what's down there. Poof, they're, you know, pushed down there. They're falling on a mat, and they're being carried off down this tunnel system. This is not a joke, people. So teach your children about this sort of stuff. Teach your children that underground is not safe. And if you're an adult, start investigating the underground. Okay, that's my message for today. I have blathered on for long enough, but I hope you see that it was for a very good purpose. So anyway, this is all I've got to say today. You will see me with, I've got lists and lists of stuff I want to talk to you about, but we'll leave it for next Thursday. And as I said, I should start at 6 p.m. in Central Europe, 5 p.m. UK time, midday East Coast US. I don't know what this is in Australia and China. Sorry, I'll look it up. But sometimes I'm late, and I'm usually late by quarter of an hour, which is called the academic quarter of an hour in Germany, because academics like me, we're scatterbrained, have so many projects on the go. We're late always. But today, I'm sorry, I was, I think, almost 40 minutes late. When that happens, just use the time to do your research of links that I've showed you the week before. You know, prepare yourself. This is not a joke. This is stuff that I'm talking about. It affects you. It affects your children. It will certainly affect your grandparents, you know. And it doesn't matter if you live in Venezuela or Uzbekistan, London, or, you know, Detroit, or, you know, Taipei. It doesn't matter where you live. This shit matters. It affects you personally every day. And it's literally like a daily death threat. Its global organization is all around us, and all its symbols are on our face, and we just never knew. I never knew. And now that I know what to look for, I just think, oh my God, you know, every second company is owned by the organized crime cartel. So, you know, this is what I'm trying to teach you. But anyway, it's not to freak you out. And my dear Swiss neighbors, I am so sorry if you feel scared. I don't want to scare you. But given that you all have nuclear bunkers downstairs like I have and need to have according to Swiss law, you know, you, I'm sure, can handle danger and, you know, news about danger. You're probably one of the most paranoid people out there. So, you know, I trust the Swiss not to, you know, do the chicken when they hear this. So anyway, this is all I've got to say. Thank you so much for listening. Please spread this. Please put your shows up advertise them on the back of your car. It really works. Start seeding, you know, information for this global transition. And let's do this in the most transparent way, all of us together at the same time. We need each other. Let's support each other. That's my message to you. Thank you for listening, and goodbye. See you next week.